Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. Some really something comments from Anthony Fauci that we're going to dig into. Jeff Bezos gets a bailout from the Senate because, richest man on the planet, definitely needs some help from our nation's senators. Fascinating lawsuit against Google in Ohio that has potentially major implications. Some new numbers on how the public is thinking about UFOs. Both of our Breaking Points monologues. We also recorded an interview with Kyle Kulinski. He's going to be talking about Justice Democrats and what went right and, more importantly, maybe what went wrong. But we did want to start with those comments from the one and only Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci. This is one of the most revealing interviews that he's ever given. I'm going to let the entire thing speak for itself, and then we'll just dissect it on the other side. Let's take a listen.
Now you're at the focal point. What is your level of concern that we're going to discredit public health officials to the point of, look at Russia. They actually have a good vaccine, and none of their citizens will take it because they don't trust their own government.
Right. It's very dangerous, Chuck, because a lot of what you're seeing as attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science. Because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Sometimes those things were inconvenient truths for people, and there was pushback against me. So if you are trying to, get at me as a public health official and a scientist, you're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. And anybody that looks at what's going on clearly sees that. You have to be asleep not to see that. That is what's going on. Science and the truth are being attacked.
Oh, really? Science and the truth are being attacked. This is outrageous to me, Krystal, because what Fauci has done is he has conflated himself with defending the public health establishment and the scientific community. In a way, he is right. It is an attack on science and the scientific establishment itself in order to point out that their actions with gain-of-function research, which they have irresponsibly funded, promoted, and then covered up possibly the role in the outbreak of coronavirus in the very first place, it is an attack by anybody who wants to know the truth about why coronavirus came about in order to go after Dr. Anthony Fauci and maybe point out the fact that he was instrumental in reversing the ban on gain-of-function research, that he, the public health establishment, and others covered up many of the well-known facts in the early days of the pandemic, showing a possible man-made origin of coronavirus, and that they have continued to lie to the American people for over a year and a half. It's not an exaggeration. He's admitted about lying about masks. He has admitted manipulating public opinion whenever it comes to what level of herd immunity he thinks is acceptable and more. But really what this is the quiet part out loud. Fauci says if you disagree with him, you're anti-science. And in reality, science is about the pursuit of the truth. He has covered up the truth almost since the very beginning.
The critiques of him, some of them have been unjustified, and some of them, the ones that you just laid out, have been completely justified.
Right.
And in fact, I would say that those critiques, where he has fallen short of what the facts and the evidence actually say, those critiques bolster science.
Real
because
science.
Real science. Because as you said, science is about the pursuit of knowledge and the truth. So the distance between what you, Dr. Fauci, are saying and where that truth lies, pointing out that inconsistency is actually bolstering science. And, it's really interesting. Obviously, he knows his audience here. Like, this is exactly...
Russia!
Eat this alive.
What does Russia have to do with this, Chuck Todd?
The Russia thing. But then, the language Fauci uses about truth and lies and commitment to facts and science, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it sounds like one of those, liberal signs that's in every affluent liberal's yard in this city. But if you actually think about what he's saying here, it's some real authoritarian shit.
Incredibly.
If you think about strongman dictators, what they do is they equate themselves with the state and they say, you can't criticize me because then you're putting down the country, you're criticizing the state. That's exactly the tactic he's using here. He's putting himself above reproach. Oh, if you're criticizing me, you're really attacking science and facts and truth. And yeah, a lot of liberals will absolutely eat that up. But that's the polar opposite of what a true liberal value set would look like. And I think it's really important to just go through again the facts of where we know he's fallen short. On masks, at the very beginning, we've played for you on Rising the clip where he says, if you are a regular citizen, don't get a mask because it's not effective. At the same time, the real reason he was saying that was because they were worried about a run on masks and it not being available for frontline workers. Okay, that's like a noble goal, but you weren't going with the science. You have to be, if you want to be a trusted science expert, leave the spin and all the bullshit to the politicians. You just need to lay on the facts.
Exactly.
You failed, number one, there. You and I both gave him a lot of latitude. Like, it was the beginning of the crisis.
I regret some of it.
He screwed up. There was a lot of, conflicting information coming out about masks. We really kind of gave him a pass for a while on that. Then it's revealed, he admits himself, because people are trying to pin him down on like, well, okay, what is the herd immunity number? Because you were saying it's here. Now you're saying it's there. You've been slowly increasing the herd immunity percent that the population of vaccination, the population has to achieve in order to achieve herd immunity. And he admitted that he was telling people what he thought they could handle in the moment. Again, it's not even really okay for politicians to engage in that type of spin. But when you're talking about someone who is just supposed to be telling you the science, if you don't know exactly what the number is, and I think that's probably the truth, is like there's a range and nobody knows specifically what the number is. Give us the range. Tell us what the probabilities are. Give us some sense. And the fact that we had those failures early on fed into, Trump is the worst actor in all of this in terms of making it this culture war thing, but people really felt like they were on their own to figure out what made sense for themselves and their families and to keep themselves safe. They had to go by sort of like these rules of thumb and guesstimates and whatever their kind of like cultural frame told them made sense because of these types of failings. And the most recent one that is revealed, of course, we've been talking about the COVID, the lab leak theory. We know now from the emails that were revealed that he had some insight and some intelligence suggesting it could have come from a lab early on, even as he publicly was completely dismissing that out of hand. Now he's kind of changed his tune a little bit, playing fast and loose word games, like very lawyerly with what gain of function research technically is. So no, pointing those things out, that's not an attack on science. That's bolstering the science. That's trying to reclaim science as a pursuit of truth rather than some like cultural battle or playing field for your career ambitions.
What's happened here is Fauci has actually become the worst version of himself. Like, for a long period, he was booking himself on television. He was becoming a celebrity. He was becoming the thank you, Dr. Fauci, Fauci ouchie caricature that we've all known and some people loved, many of them who live in my neighborhood, upper middle class white liberals. But what the real thing is now he has shown the utter vacuousness of the phrase trust the science by conflating himself with the craft of science itself. When, once again, Fauci is the person who funded gain-of-function research, reversed the ban by the Obama administration in 2017. He is the person who directed gain-of-function research funds to Dr. Peter Daszak and the EcoHealth Alliance, who funded bat coronavirus gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which possibly led, again, it's just a hypothesis, to the outbreak of COVID-19 and led to the worst pandemic in a century. So if that is what happened, and if that's an attack on science, then so be it. But I think what real scientific inquiry would say is, did this come from a lab? If so, maybe we should rethink how we do gain-of-function research. Maybe we should rethink how exactly we can communicate to the public. Let's say gain-of-function research is necessary, which I'm actually pretty dubious on still. Make the case to me that you're going to be able to do it safely again. And especially, don't pull the wool over the eyes of the American public and say that the gain-of-function research is so necessary that our response to the pandemic, which is what Fauci and others have done, is to push even more gain-of-function research to the tune of $1.2 billion to the Global Virome Project. All of those, you put it all together, and you just see a scenario in which the public health establishment, the so-called trusted scientists, they lied to us from the beginning. The Fauci emails reveal that he knew about a possible man-made origin of coronavirus January 31st, 2020, after the genome of the virus had been sequenced. It was in his inbox. And then those very same scientists came out and lied to the public and said that there was no evidence whatsoever. Yeah. So in reality, maybe it is an attack on the scientific establishment, but it is an affront to actual science itself. And real scientists are the ones who know this. Fauci really has just lost all credibility at this point.
trust the science, but recognize that scientists are human beings.
Exactly.
And
follow the money.
Human beings are fallible. They have their own interests. They don't have their own professional stakes in mind. And the fact that he wants, I mean, the arrogance of saying that he's above reproach is really something. And you get away with it. He gets away with it. And we've seen this pattern repeat time and time again, because you can point to like Donald Trump and, oh, Donald Trump and his acolytes, and it's these right-wingers who hate him.
Right.
And sometimes because that rhetoric and some of the attacks are unfair, it gives Fauci and his defenders more of a leg to stand on to say, oh, this is all in bad faith, so that they can just dismiss all of the criticism out of hand, even the pieces that are entirely legitimate.
No, that's right.